Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans, every drop of salt water covering 70% of Earth's surface, had vanished into thin air. No waves, no tides, no endless horizon of blue. Just an empty, sun-scorched basin stretching thousands of kilometers across. The question isn't just what it would look like, but whether life as we know it could survive even for a moment in such a world. First, the most immediate effect would be catastrophic weather. When trillions of tons of ocean water suddenly transform into vapor, the atmosphere becomes a boiling soup of steam. The pressure and heat would trigger super hurricanes far larger than anything ever observed. Clouds thick enough to block out the sun would swirl across the planet. Rainfall would not arrive in gentle drops, but in torrents so extreme that whole regions could be drowned and baked at the same time. But this storm phase would not last long. Within weeks, most of that vapor would rise high into the stratosphere, where ultraviolet sunlight would rip the molecules apart, bleeding hydrogen into space. Earth would permanently lose vast amounts of water to the vacuum above. Without oceans, our climate system collapses. Oceans act as a gigantic thermostat, absorbing heat in summer and releasing it in winter. With them gone, land masses would bake during the day and freeze at night. Temperatures near the equator could reach the level of frying pans, while mid-latitudes would shiver under nightly cold snaps harsher than Siberian winters. Entire ecosystems that depend on moderate climates, forests, grasslands, wetlands would wither within months. Agriculture would fail almost instantly, and the global food supply would implode. The geography of the planet would suddenly look alien. Where there were once deep seas, now there would be abyssal plains and submarine canyons exposed to the sky. The mid-Atlantic ridge, usually hidden beneath kilometers of water, would rise like a jagged scar across the planet. Mountain ranges taller than the Himalayas exist underwater today. They would now tower over empty deserts of salt and cracked mud. These basins would be uninhabitable, scorching hot in the day, freezing at night, and filled with toxic gases once trapped in the seabed. Marine life, of course, would be gone in an instant. Coral reefs, whales, plankton species that evolved over billions of years would be wiped out in the blink of an eye, and humans would not last much longer. Coastal cities would collapse as their harbors turned into barren valleys. Nations built on fishing industries would face immediate collapse. Inland populations would discover that without the constant evaporation from the oceans, the water cycle breaks down. Rivers would shrink, rainfall would become rare, and fresh water would turn into the most precious resource imaginable. Wars would erupt not over land or oil, but over the last surviving lakes and aquifers. From a geological perspective, the missing oceans would also unbalance Earth's crust. Gigantic plates that once carried the weight of trillions of tons of water would rebound upward, causing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions on a scale never seen before. Imagine the entire Pacific Ring of Fire lighting up with eruptions as the planet desperately tries to adjust to its new equilibrium. Ironically, even as the surface dried, the atmosphere would remain humid and unstable. Steam high above the Earth would trap heat like a colossal greenhouse. Within decades, our planet might resemble Venus, scorching hot, cloud-shrouded, and utterly hostile to life. The oceans, which once made Earth a blue paradise, would have been transformed into a suffocating blanket of vapor sealing our doom. Could any corner of life survive this apocalypse? Perhaps microbes deep underground, or tiny colonies living near hydrothermal vents that once lay under the sea. But for humanity and the animals we know, survival would be impossible. Even underground bunkers could not provide protection against the collapse of the atmosphere. the chaos of the weather, and the loss of breathable air and drinkable water. The final irony is that all of this would happen incredibly fast. One moment we would see oceans glittering under the sun, the next they would be gone, and the countdown to extinction would begin. The oceans are not just scenery, they are the engine of life. Remove them, and Earth stops being Earth. It becomes just another barren rock drifting through space, indistinguishable from the countless dead worlds we already know. So, what if all the oceans instantly evaporated? The short answer is the story of life on Earth would end almost immediately. Drowned not in water, but in the unbearable silence of a planet stripped of its most vital heartbeat.